So today we are going to be talking about these lazy, mother-loving millennials, right? I know. So I was on the Facebooks and I see, I was looking at some memes, some posts here and there, chatter, right? And it was essentially talking about millennials, they lazy, millennials, they don't want to have kids, millennials, they don't want to work, millennials this, millennials that, da 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 da, and then don't even get me started on them Gen Zs, right? So I'm like, well, let me do a little bit of research and let me just pick my own mind and see why you're calling them lazy, why they don't want to have kids, and why they don't want to work, right? So I put a little list down, and if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at as well. But I put a little list down and whatnot, and I'm like, well, let me see about these so-called lazy, selfish millennials, right? So I have some little points. We're gonna go through them a little bit, and then we're gonna get a little bit going on. All right. So the first thing I thought about, I was like, okay, well, you said that they don't want to have kids, right? Well, one, you have the whole thing of job security right now. All right. So you have a lot of ruthless bosses. You have people, companies, because of the pandemic, companies have not all been at the top. They're not all like Amazon. They're not all like Microsoft or something like that. So it's the whole job security thing. And if I get pregnant and I gotta go, I gotta go. I can't. After I give birth, I can't be back here in a week. For depending on how your pregnancy is as well. And you have some people, which I have read some things where they're like, okay, well, you gotta go. There's not parental leave, or I'll get into that though. But you don't have that job security 100%, okay? Then you have to think about it. Having a kid costs too much money, y'all, okay? Having a kid costs way too much money. I'm talking about in the United States. If you go overseas, that's different, right? But if you're in the United States, and this is what I'm talking about, this is what the video is mostly focused on, pretty much so, is the United States of America, okay? Having a kid costs way too much money. There's no universal health care. You're paying taxes, but your stuff isn't going towards like health care or things that really matter, things that we really need. So that's why you're paying $100,000 X amount of money. That's why you've been paying to have a kid, okay? So you have to pay for the doctor visits, you have to pay for all this stuff, and then it's like, okay, you gotta, cough up some money now. Who has a whole bunch of money to be paying for a kid that you can be taking care of for at least 18 years? Okay, unless something else happens, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of money. Kids are not cheap, y'all, okay? And then, getting to my point that I just brought up earlier, is this whole idea of no parental leave, all right? You have some where, they'll pay for like 5 months, 6 months, something like that. But not every job gives you parental leave. So maternity leave, they don't give you that. All right. So the thing about it is like this: you don't have leave. So what are you gonna do after you have a kid? You're gonna really separate from your kid 2 weeks after, a week after, because you used up your vacation time and maybe your personal time or sick leave, whatever. Are you really gonna do that? I don't think so. All right. So that's another thing. You have jobs that they're like, okay, well, you got a kid. That's on you, boo. What you gonna do? Because you still got to work tomorrow. What you gonna do? And then you got people who are like, well, I just simply can't do that. I simply can't. I can't do that. So I'm not even gonna put myself in that kind of predicament. So forget it. I'm not doing it. Because you have some jobs that may give you like 5, 6 months. It's rare, okay? I read a post where someone said that they know that this can happen, but I haven't heard anyone actually say it where they give you a year. I don't know about that. But you get a couple months, few months, but that's not enough to have your body recover, getting adjusted to all this. That's not enough. So yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want a kid, because it costs too much and they're not gonna give you time off of work for all that. A lot of jobs don't, and if they do, they ain't giving you enough. 3 months, that's not, your body went through so many changes. Now you're trying to get it back to where it was, because for 9 months or however long you were pregnant for, your body was going through a whole bunch of changes. So that's not enough time, so that's what you're having. And it goes into my other point that I brought up earlier. It's about the no universal health care. Costs too much. Why would I want to, even if I get sick, why would I want, I can't go to the doctor? And then now we have this crazy system, you guys see who's in network, who's not in network. It makes it so confusing. That's why I haven't, in all honesty, I have not been to a doctor in years. It's been, oh my goodness. And I'm talking about, I go, get my eyes checked, I get my, teeth checked, and that kind of stuff. But I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about just like a regular medical doctor. You go to like their doctor's office, something like that. I haven't gone in like 4 or 5 years now. And the reason being is because I don't know how to do this stuff. Costs too much and I don't know how to do it. It's just as simple as that. I've tried to look it up and, try to find who's in network, who's not in network, who does this, what about this? It's just too much for me. So for me, I'm like, I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Eventually I have to, I know, but I'm just like this. If I could just take care of myself, work out, which I've been doing. I'm so sore, by the way. But if I could just take care of myself, work out, eat well, do my fasting, take my vitamins and stuff like that, that's all I could even hope for right now. Because going through the whole medical system, trying to figure out what doctor goes here, what doctor goes here, it's just too much for me. And I don't have the time for it, and I don't have the headache for it. I don't want to have a headache trying to figure out, hey, can you do this? Because if I need a doctor, my dentist, for example, which is a great dentist, by the way, I went and found them, and the stuff is like this. It's like no time. Oh, you need what? You need to clean? Okay, done, and that's it, right? I need to get my contacts, need new contacts, new glasses, whatever the case is. I go, done. You come to a medical doctor, we gotta go to the office, go get your whole body checked. Oh, well, you gotta see about this. That's for the birds. I don't want it. So then you have that, okay? So that's also this whole thing of, and people call it the health craze, which was not a part of my list, but I started thinking about it just now. It's pretty much what I'm doing. Taking vitamins, you're taking supplements, you're making sure you're working out, you're doing this, you're getting equipment, you're doing all this other stuff because that we ain't got no health care. We don't have universal health care, and it's so hard to get into the healthcare system anyway. It's expensive. I gotta take care of myself. So this is what you're having, but this is called being lazy, right? So you also have another thing about the low-paying jobs. Minimum wage is $7.25. I know a lot of people ain't making $7.25 unless you are doing like a tip for service kind of job or something like that. But still, $15 an hour is not good. That still is not good. Where you living in the United States, where a one-bedroom apartment is $1,500. I was lucky where I had my one-bedroom apartment where I used to previously live. I was paying, I believe it was $8.15 a month, which was good, by the way. I was paying $8.15 a month, and that included water and I believe my electricity, and I think that included water and internet. My electricity was separate, so that was a huge bundle, and there was a whole bunch of parking everywhere, so that was not a problem. It was all free parking, whatever. You got a gym, you got a pool if you wanted to go to that, cool, right? Place I was at prior, I was paying about $400 or $500 a month for my part. It was a 2-bedroom, but this place was gross. Okay, so, but you have low-paying jobs. Low-paying jobs also mean that you will be in a low-paying rent area. You know what I mean? Which may not always be good. I know mine wasn't. The place I upgraded to was banging. Okay, but the other one I was at was not good at all. Okay, it was the security, nothing. Everything about it was just terrible. All right, so that's another thing that I'm referring to. You got the low-paying jobs. I can't afford a kid. I can't afford to do this. And then you have a whole another thing with that. Well, if you paying me $15 an hour, and really I should be getting paid $25 in order to live in this area, unless I'm gonna live 2 hours away, your job isn't worth it. So you have people who are just like, there's no real reward. There's no real benefit for me working here. Why should I work here? Why should I work for you if I can't even afford this apartment. I can't even afford the mortgage over here. I can't even afford the rent over here in this apartment, condo, townhouse, wherever I'm living. I can't afford it unless I'm living an hour and a half, an hour away, 2 hours away. You know what I mean? So that's the huge problem. And that goes into the high rent and high mortgage. It's just way too expensive right now. It's way too expensive, and I simply can't afford it. So why would I want to work for you if you can't give me a livable wage, but you have a livable wage? And why do I want to have a kid if I can't afford it? It just doesn't make any sense. You have another thing, separate issue, but kind of the same. Social Security age is rising. So you have this whole thing. People have to grind, work. But then you're like, well, we're going to increase that Social Security age. So it's going to be a long time before we have to start paying you. But why the heck should I even put money into the system? Because that's what, when you are paying your taxes, that's what that also goes to. If you live in a state that has state tax, you're paying state, federal, Social Security. If you're not, you're paying federal Social Security. So why should I even work and put money into a system that I won't even be able to use if you guys keep upping the age? And what if I'm gone before then? What the heck? You know, so this is that whole, everything that I'm mentioning. You have the whole idea of there being no holiday. When I say holiday, I mean like vacation, okay? Where people have weeks, just weeks of time, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, depending on wherever you're living. How much vacation time do you have? And I'm not talking about these corporate people. I'm not talking about people who working at Microsoft all the way up. I'm talking about a regular Joe, got a regular 9 to 5, you barely making it. How much vacation do you really get? You ain't getting no 6 weeks. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I know you ain't getting 6 weeks. All right. So that is the problem. And that means I don't have that work-life balance. I don't have that time just for myself. I don't have that time where I could just de-stress and okay, let me relax, let me go do my feet, let me go, go visit family, whatever. You just don't have enough time to do anything. I can't go and visit family. I can't go and visit family if I only have 3 days. And let's say they live in, the next 6 states over or something like that. You just can't do that. So that's the problem. That also aids into it. And again, why would I want to work for your company if I can't get anything? Any work-life balance that everyone screams that they have at their company, right? So that's the problem, all right? Then you also have this other thing, which separate, but it's also included in this. Is this whole idea or the fact that there is increased crime because the pandemic did not cause it. Okay, I'm not one of those people that believe that the pandemic caused it, but I believe it has accelerated it. Okay, because you have the pandemic, you have a lot of people who lost their homes, you have a lot of people who got possibly evicted, because I know they did the little eviction thing where you can't evict somebody for a certain period of time. But you have a lot of people who are just struggling, and they've been struggling, but then getting hit with this, it's like, dang, I'm mad. Now I can't leave my house. Now I got to do this. I got to do. Oh, and then now you have a whole bunch of people who have the increased crime. You have a whole bunch of problems with that. So, you got people stealing catalytic converters. You have people who are, you got mass shootings. I remember there was 2 that happened one day, then the next day you had the one that happened in New York. You had the one that happened in, I can't remember if it was San Francisco, I know it was California. And it's just, what the heck? Why would I want to bring a kid into a world like this? Why would I want to bring a kid into, a place where it's like, okay, well, your kid, they may get shot if they're just on their porch with their grandma. They may get shot if they're in their house, straight bullet, or if they're in a car. Well, why the heck would I want that? That's crazy. It's craziness, And then it's the whole thing that goes into the vacation time that I was bringing up. But it's just the idea of there being no time, okay? There's just no time. You work 40 hours a week, if that, okay? Because there are people who working a whole bunch of overtime. Okay, and you just don't have time to do anything. That's another reason why, if you guys look at a lot of my other videos, for example, you notice I'm in the same thing. Okay, you notice you may see like 3 or 4 videos where I'm wearing the same outfit, then another 3 or 4 videos where I'm wearing the same outfit. It's because I'm recording it all in one day, because I simply don't have any other time to do it. I just don't. Try to pay bills, make ends meet. I just don't have time to record 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, 2 this day, 2 this day, 2 this day, 1 here, 1 here. I don't have time for that. So yeah, that's why you also see me, and probably seen a video that's going to go up before this. I'm wearing the same exact thing because I have to do it all in one day or it's not going to get done. You know, you have no time, you have no energy. If you have kids, babysitting, you know, well, not babysitting, you're just watching your own kid, but you have to, do that. You know, if you have a side hustle, for example, I have my business, my small business, latricelimited.com, check it out. For example, where it's like, okay, maybe this is taken up, maybe you got a hobby, you know, whatever. You just don't have time for a 40-hour work week plus. You just don't have time. You know, people say that you're lazy. Not if you're working this long and you're still struggling. Why would you want to bring a kid into the world if you don't even have enough time for yourself? You're definitely not going to have enough time for this kid. And that is a problem, you know. And then you just have this whole idea of, you know, this whole millennials, they don't have kids, our population is going to go down, which I don't think is a bad thing, in all honesty. But you have another thing, kind of like me, really, where it's like, I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to deal with that at all, really. I'm gonna just be honest. My ideal would just be to get an animal. That's why you have a lot of people who do have animals, but even with that, you want to spend time with your animal. All right. Me, I want a Labrador. I don't care what color. I would prefer black or gold, but I really don't care what color. Whichever one that I bond with would be the best one. I don't care. That and a pit bull, you know. So that's really what I want to do. Have enough time to be able to spend with them, and you know, we just do what we do, you know. So that's the thing. You also have people who just don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with having a kid. They don't want to diaper changing, da da da. At least, you know, when you have a dog, yeah, they're gonna have, you know, TT, poo poo in the house, you know, here and there when they're first starting to be, you know, potty trained, learning how to, you know, hold it, you know. But you know, you clean it up, whatever, and then they start learning. You're taking them out, you know, you're doing this, which also helps you with exercise and whatnot. You're not losing sleep, and that's another thing. If you're losing sleep, I was reading this article where they were saying it was like an insane amount of time, because you got to keep getting up. You can't just let the baby cry, obviously. So you got to keep getting up. You got to keep going over there, checking out. Oh, you okay? Oh, okay. Let me go back to sleep. Then you get 30 minutes sleep, and then they're crying again. Then you got to go back. Then you got to feed them. Then you got to do this, and it's like, you just have some people who are just like, I don't want to deal with that. I really don't. And to shame people or kind of force women to have a kid they really don't want is the biggest mistake you can have, you know, because all it's going to do is negatively affect the baby at the end of the day. That's who you're going to be hurting if you force them. This also goes into the abortion stuff as well. And that kind of goes into what I was saying, well, like I said, with the abortion stuff, but it goes into, you know, women not having, and I said this in a previous video of mine, 100% control of our bodies. For example, if you want your tubes tied, your doctor, I've seen it before, where they would say, oh, you want your tubes tied? Yeah, whether you just had a kid or you didn't have a kid. Well, if you just had a kid, you may want another kid just in case someone wants to impregnate you. Well, I don't want to get pregnant anymore. This one kid is enough for me. Yeah, but I would say you should wait just in case someone wants to impregnate you. What? If I told you I don't want it, I don't want it. What the heck, you know? Then you have a whole nother thing. If you didn't have a kid, well, just in case someone wants to impregnate you, you could, well, I don't want to have any kids. I know that's what I want to do. I don't want to have any kids. Yeah, but if someone wants to impregnate you, it's like always male, 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 male. That's the only thing that matters. All right. So if you're female, What you say don't really matter, okay? It's the male. If he wants to get you pregnant, he wants to get you pregnant. It doesn't matter what you say. Just like if you want your tubes tied, it doesn't matter. And this kind of also brings me to a whole thing I read, and I will be putting up on the screen probably over here in this zone. And it was about Serena Williams. All right. So she was saying how she pretty much had to save her own life and whatnot. So I'm actually going to read a little bit, and I will be putting up on the screen over here somewhere. So I'll probably move over a little bit so that you guys can see what I was reading. And it says, the tennis star started experiencing, Serena Williams, serious pain and couldn't stop coughing after welcoming her daughter, right? Via C-section in 2017. But when she suggested to her nurse that she get a CAT scan, she was ignored. The nurse was like, you don't really need one. You're fine. You just, these women being over dramatic, you're fine, right? She said, I spoke to the nurse. I told her I need to have a CAT scan of my lungs. And then I need to be on my heparin drip. And she was saying, well, you're just crazy, da 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 da. And then she ended up saying how she fought hard to get the CAT scan. And she later found out, because she begged these people. You're begging medical professionals, which is a problem. All right? You're begging these people. And you're saying, I need the CAT scan. And you later find out, she later finds out, she had a blood clot in her lungs. This was associated with her coughing that the nurse ignored. Said, oh, you're just being over dramatic. Oh, your pain is nothing. You're being problematic. And it almost killed me, right? So that's okay. It's okay if it almost kills me, to save face or so you don't feel as bad or whatever the case may be. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a huge problem that we have. It's this whole, I'm not going to listen to the woman when she complains about her problems or she complains about something that doesn't, make her feel comfortable. It's the female, since we got to use terminology so much now, specific terminology, the female, and it's that whole thing of, well, whatever. We don't really have to listen to you. You don't know your body as well as I know your body, which is craziness. So you think of this whole thing, getting back to the main topic of millennials not wanting to have children and whatnot. I just explained, I gave a lot of points actually, and I just explained why we don't want to have kids, why they don't want to have kids. You say that they're lazy, they don't want to work. Well, why should they? Well, what's wrong with working for yourself? What's the problem with that? Oh, well, but it's not making me richer and you just barely getting by. Who wants to live paycheck to paycheck for the rest of their life? Nobody wants to live like that. You don't live like that, so why should I have to live like that? So this was my breakdown and explanation for a lot of this whole thing. Millennials are lazy, they don't want to work, they don't want to have kids, they're ruining everything. Let me know if you guys have any points to touch upon that maybe I didn't put in there, maybe I forgot, maybe I neglected it, maybe I just didn't even think about it. I would love to know what you guys' opinions are on that. And also, have you ever heard anyone say, like, maybe in your personal life, like, oh, well, why don't you have kids? Or why don't you do this? Or, oh, you lazy? I would love to know your opinions and your thoughts on that. And until then.